Nigeria now ranks top on the list of countries with violent attacks on schools in 2023. This is as the number of violent incidents affecting education in African Union countries rose by 20% in 2023, with 411 reports of violent incidents. This is according to new analysis by Save the Children released as the 37th African Union Summit got underway. These incidents include drone strikes on schools, the killing of primary teachers, and the use of tear gas to disperse teachers' meetings, with the majority of incidents taking place in Nigeria, followed by Sudan. Other incidents included the killing of a school guard and dumping of his body, the raid of a primary school to use it as a training ground, and air raids on schools sheltering displaced families. Arise analyst Dayo Sobowale joins us now to discuss the ranking of Nigeria as being top on the list with violent attacks on schools and the need for measures to provide a safer learning environment for students. Good to have you on Newsday. Mr. Sobowale, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure being here as usual.
It's always a pleasure to have you in spite of the nature of this topic. And now, is it fair to say that until this insecurity in the general sense is tackled in the country, we might continue to see situations like this happening in schools?
Yes, you are saying the obvious. And Nigeria has a peculiar experience in that regard, especially with Boko Haram. Boko Haram's motto and slogan is no to Western education. And Boko Haram has been the most relevant and most violent in the Northeast. The government claims to have defeated it, but facts on the ground prove that not to be so. And the governor in Borno State especially is doing a yeoman's job in resettling people when they are displaced by Boko Haram and in giving palliatives to them. But the real menace of the Boko Haram militarism and insurgency, I mean, those are still very much on the ground. And then, you see, like I said, Boko Haram says no to Western education. It wants Islamic education. And just last week, the Sultan spoke on the nature of our problem, insecurity, food shortage, and all that. But then, underlying all this is Islamic insurgency. You must take that. It started in the Northeast with Boko Haram. It's unfortunate I have a passionate attachment to the Northeast because I did my national service there. And more importantly, I did it in Goza, which amazingly, years after I left, turned out to be the fortress for Boko Haram. It's a wide area with very big mountains, but you will not know that insurgents can make a living from there, and they'll be fighting government from there. And the army has claimed several times to have destroyed them from the mountains, the forest in Goza, but they still come out there. Now, the problem is with education. 10 years ago, that of the Chibok girls happened. They took the girls away, married some of them, raped some of them, and shot them. And some of them are still with them, up till now. Of course, I'm sure you can imagine what shape or form those ladies will be. Maybe some of them will be mothers now of several children. So the strategy of Boko Haram and Islamic insurgency is clear. They not only want to impose the religion, they want to be an alternative government. And where people don't see the impact of government positively on their lives, if an alternative comes in that cowers them, that recruits them, that makes a form of intimidation to get their support, that vacuum will be filled. That is what is happening in Nigeria. But then there's one basic thing I noticed, and some people have stressed. Many of the schools in the north, they are not fenced. They are not fenced because they think everywhere is safe. If the schools resume, get me? And by the grace of God, they will resume. If they resume, how much does it cost to fence? we know that at least the insurgents will have to jump defense before coming in. That's primary basic form of security. Let government do that. But essentially, government must find a way of defeating Boko Haram and all type of bandits and kidnappers. Because you see, the economy of the bandit and kidnapper is run on revenue from kidnapping, from ransom, you get me? And revenue from places they pillage. And then they have funds. Nobody can deny it now. You see, the pathology of the situation is that they have empathy among Muslims. The same Sultan came out sometime and said this problem of insurgency in the Northeast and Islamic jihad is not a farmer, herdsman problem. And it's not a problem between Christians and Muslims. But the fact remains that even the military that fights them, there are empathies. There are empathies amongst our own soldiers in fighting those that are supposed to fight. And then the mistake the government has made in trying to recruit those that I think are unrecruitable or people that you cannot change their mind. That policy has been done and it has failed. Because invariably, I mean, this is a thing of the mind. Religion is an emotive issue. You have affective politics, which is based on emotion, your loyalties, your beliefs, affecting how we tackle terrorism in Nigeria. And as long as we do not make the enabling environment conducive for students and teachers to congregate and impart knowledge, this sort of thing will continue. So like you rightly noted at the outset, the problem of insecurity underlies everything. Government should resolve it, first and foremost.
Yeah. Right. Now, having painted that very incredible picture as a foundation for this conversation, I want to just look at it from a different angle. You look at countries like the United States, for example, which top global statistics with regards to violent attacks that happen on schools. Although those are motivated by a different agenda and a different premise, the point I'm trying to raise is that globally, we still seem to be unable to protect school environments. What are some of those fundamentals, Mr. Sobowale, that you feel need to be in place? For example, earlier you mentioned fencing schools. What are the organizations or the systems, shall I say, the structures that needs to be put in place with communities so that there's an investment in protecting schools? From a global perspective?
Now, this attack on schools is not a global phenomenon. Let me tell you that. So you can't generalize on the basis of that. Even in the US, you get me? It's a gun rights issue. See, students come to school with guns and shoot people down. People come outside. But in the US, they have taken steps. Teachers associations, even schools are allowed to hire security men. Schools have been training teachers even to have guns. Get me? So that is their own domestic terrorism.
But is that an approach that can work here?
Yes. No, when I was going through this, I separated that from what we have here. Because our own is different from theirs. People come from the bush, attack schools, take people away. I mean, in the US, if you attack schools, before you know it, the only problem with some sheriffs is that they didn't come in time and they distribute their hand. But you see, we have people have rights to own guns and shouldn't carry guns into school. Then anything can happen. But they are facing it, although their own problem is the menace is that you can't stop their own culture. Says that if a guy has a gun to protect himself, he has a right to do that. But they are trying to check that they don't bring it into schools. Our own, this is an outsider attack on people who say that they want to impose Islamic religion on the rest of us.
Can I interject?
Yes.
So you raised a very critical point, which is where you were saying that, for example, in the US, they said teachers are being trained.
Yes.
They might even be allowed to be armed.
Yes.
These are some of the interventions I'm saying. Do you
Yes.
think that this is feasible in our situation?
I don't want to apply it to our own. If you go to that extent, I will say maybe we have Boy Scouts, we have Boys Brigade. You get me? These are leadership, youth leadership programs. They can be used to train people. But then let us secure the environment first.
Absolutely.
Let us secure the environment. People carrying K-47 and all that, and then coming after girls. They have their intention. They want wives. They carry the girls. They kidnap people. They want money. And then they have, you don't need to mention it. Islamic organizations all over, which fund them. And then a certain Islamic authority leader said that they should list those organizations, Islamic religious organizations, funding terrorists. So they have to secure the environment first. Literally, they have shut off Western education, which is really a pity, because historically, the early leaders of the North, the Sardauna, the first prime minister, they were teachers. And their investment was in getting the North to shorten the educational gap between the North and South. They were teachers interested in bringing people to schools and getting people to go through crash courses so they can be in the public service and help government and make sure that the North is not backward. But when they were shut down in the coup of 1966, there has been a vacuum which the North has not been able to fix. That was how the Takalawas came in. That was how Boko Haram came in.
Indeed.
So it's an insecurity situation. Yes.
Well, Mr. Sobowale, of course, remember that in December, I believe, the Ministry of Education did say that the goal is to have 20 million out-of-school children, back in school in 4 years. Mm-hmm. Considering this reports from Save the Children and the realities we have on ground, do you still see that goal as being attainable?
Of course. You see, don't let us be alarmists over developments. This thing we are discussing happened at the OAU meeting. But this one, the Federal Ministry of Education has his plans on the ground. Do you get me? They have the plans on the ground so that those schools, money has been voted for them. But fortunes are the schools if they are not secure. Maybe when they get the schools going now, maybe there will be a garrison looking after maybe a collection of schools in certain vicinity. It's good equipment like drones and things like that. Maybe there will be hangars at the gate of schools. But you see, if the Islamists, if the insurgents are better armed than our security, the Chibokism will always reverberate, will always repeat itself. 10 years ago, not all those school children have been. Imagine how their family will be feeling now. And several have been. The thing started from the northeast. Now it is gone to the northwest, to Sokoto and the rest of them, not central. So, I'm not saying we should be prayerful, but obviously something needs to be done so that those who want Islamic education will not supplant the wishes and aspirations of young people who want Western education. It's a matter of choice, and we must put the facts on the table. Right.
Looking at federalism, when you look at the schools, whose responsibility are we placing them under? Because, of course, we know there's a federal level, there's the state level. Yes, there's a federal government level, there's a state level, there's a community level. So, and you look at the National Policy on Safety, Security and Violence-Free Schools, and the buck keeps being passed around. Who does this duty stand with?
No, that has never been in doubt. Government is in charge. Local government at local government level, federal government at federal government level. But it's the security of the schools we are talking about now. If the schools are abandoned, especially we have to teach. So it is a communal in terms of sovereign, it's a national,
Collaborative.
and of course, government is doing. You see, I'm not treating it as isolation. You can identify the problems we have here, but that does not preclude government's disposition. You get me? And functionality to take care of education.
Very well said. Mr. Dayo, it's always apparent that your passion for education is organic, and we thank you for your time as always.
That's free education.
Yes, but education still.
Safe education.
Thank you very much.